Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart.
What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I'm going to show you a transformation on a client that has been to me before. I just haven't seen her in a really long time. So the color that's on her ends was the last color that I did on her, and she hasn't been in my chair for, I would say, definitely well over a year, but she is definitely ready to brighten up her hair again. And then on top of that, we are going to be chopping off her hair as well. So we are going to be giving her a full transformation, getting her lighter, and then taking off a lot of this dead weight on the ends and give her a fresh new look. So since her roots are really grown out, I'm going to try and do a pretty heavy weave and give her a lot of color. We want something that is going to be slightly dimensional but not too solid. So I'm going to start off with detailing the hairline here, and I like to take a weave right around the nape of the neck just to kind of go from the center back to the top of the ear. And I like to do this because when she puts her hair up, she does have nice beautiful color, but also when she puts her hair down and brings it in front of her face, these highlights are really going to show around her face. So I definitely always like to pop in a few foils here. Even if I'm doing like a partial, I'll maybe just do like one or two, because I feel like this part is really important and kind of also connects to the front face frame when they bring their hair forward. So I'm going to continue detailing her hairline, doing another foil right above that hairline foil just to give her a lot of color and impact here. I'm doing another small weave, and after that I'm going to start just highlighting the center of her head all the way up to the front money piece side. So for the rest of the head, I'm just going to be doing the center part here, and I am just going to be slicing everything up until I hit the hairline again, only because she does have a lot of dark and I'm gonna want something that is going to give me a lot of color. And so I really don't want to worry about weaving anything. I just want to go in and slice everything and get her as much color as possible. So my spacing on my slices, I would say they're about ½ inch. Depending, but I am making sure that I am taking pretty thin slices that are see-through enough to get a really even application and get a really clean lift. My lightener that I'm using the Blonde Me Schwarzkopf lightener, and I did first use a bowl of 6 in 20 volume, and then I bumped it up to 20 volume for the rest of the head. And the reason why my spacing on my slices are pretty close together, even in the back here, is because she does have a lot of dark. I really don't see much highlights as I'm picking through the back section here. So I want to make sure that I give her enough color, and it's going to make our retouches a lot easier too in the future if I go ahead and brighten up the back here. And you can see I'm still taking the center section up the head, and from here on out I am using custom cut foils to match the hair length of her hair. I feel like this is really crucial to the application and the whole process of the technique that I'm using, because using foils where I'm not folding up the hair does make a huge difference as far as the lift. I find that in the past, whenever I've tried to like fold up the foils where I've already placed lightener and the hair is on hair that is this dark or even on the coarser side, I usually get an uneven lift whenever the foils are folded. So I've tried to avoid that and just use and customize longer foils so that the hair can stay flat and the lightener has room to kind of expand a little bit, because this Blonde Me lightener does and can expand a little bit more than others, but I use it to my advantage because it's great on darker hair for that reason. So my placement on most of my highlight clients like this, or balayage clients, are very similar. I usually do pretty much the same format for everybody, and it just makes it really easy for me to do touch-ups. So you could imagine when she comes in for her root touch-up, which I would recommend her to come in, I would say like no sooner than like 10 weeks, but no later than like 14 weeks. And the reason being is because I need enough growth for her roots to come in. And then also if she waits too long, then she gets a little bit too much dimension, and we have to do something super full impact like this session today. So I like to do the same type of placement pretty much on all of my clients. The only thing that really changes is the spacing between my foils. So that will vary depending on how soon they come in, what look they're going for, how light they want to be, and all those things. And by changing the spacing between my slices can change up the entire look of what I'm doing. So it really does make a huge difference from doing slices that are further apart to create something more dimensional and very soft and subtle, compared to something that is really high impact like this, where the color looks a little bit more solid and she has a lot of color, where the slices are a lot closer together. So now that I'm at the front, I'm going to weave again, just to give her that softness when she puts her hair up. And we are going to be doing pretty much same all around. We're not going to be focusing on getting the front too much lighter, not too chunky, but we want it to be somewhat lighter than the rest. So we're going to be slicing and weaving just a little bit. And for the money piece, I definitely always ask my clients what their preference is. A lot of times if a client wants something that is same all around, or something that is not too thick, I usually will just do a few baby lights and then continue my slicing pattern. So in the end, my client's goal for her color today is to be a really ashy brown. So for my ash tone browns, depending on what kind of ash they would like, I usually try to lift them past a level 8, more so like a level 9 and 10. And then depending on what type of ash tone they're looking at. So if the ash tone that they're asking looks more like an ash brown than like a grayish brown, I would definitely lift them to a level 9. But if a client comes to me and shows me pictures and it has slight hues of like a gray in the brown tones, I try to lift my clients to about a level 9 and 10. So it really depends, and that will just vary on client. And usually when they show me a picture and it looks really dimensional, I'll have them literally pick out the exact spots of the tones that really stands out to them. Okay, so now that I'm moving on to the side, I am doing another weave right at the hairline to connect that money piece with right where the ear starts, and then I do another weave right above the ear, and that's typically how I will connect the front and the back section. And then after this, I'm going to just continue slicing up the head up until I reach the very top section. And then spacing between the sections on the side here can be a little bit wider than the top, only because this is the side, and if there's a bit more depth here, it's totally fine. It actually looks a lot better and gives it that nice balayage depth effect. So for the sides, I usually would do a little bit more than that ½ inch. Sometimes I'll do about 3/4 of an inch, just depending on how dense the hair is. So you can see here we lifted my client to about a level 9 and 10, And then when we mixed up her toner, I went ahead and mixed up a demi permanent line. And for the root formulation, I will be using something that will help blur out those lines of demarcation. You can see as we're pulling out these foils here, there is a bit of warmth where the highlights kind of end. So I always like to make sure that I mix up a root shade color that is dark enough to melt that and cover that and make everything just look a lot better and blended and seamless. So the demi lime that I'm using is a little bit more on the opaque side, which it does give a lot of coverage and it does process true to level. So I am using a 6-0, which is a level 6 natural, and the naturals in this line are on the slightly ashier side. So this is going to create a very nice neutral ashy brown tone for her root shadow. And then after we have finished applying her root shadow, we will be going in with her lighter formula. But before that, as I'm applying the root shadow, I do like to apply it vertically versus horizontally of the head, because I find that doing a vertical application, you get a really nice blurred line for the root shade, especially if you're using like a darker root shade. But anyways, after we are done finishing up her root shade, I'm going in with the lighter formula. So her lighter formula is going to be a mixture of 8-2, which is a level 8 violet, and then I did mix in a 6-1 with it, which is a level 6 ash. So that's going to create a very ashy toned brown for her. And whenever I mix those two colors together, because the level 6 ash sometimes can be a little bit too dark, a little too ashy, I like to mix in more of the 8-2 than the 6-1 to keep it nice and balanced. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. You can see the 6-0 root shadow blended out all of that warmth at the root perfectly, and the formulation on the mids and ends, you can definitely see the beautiful ash tone. It's not too dark, but not too light as well. I feel like this is like the perfect medium blondish ash tone for any client who is more on the darker level naturally. And I feel like this is gonna fade out really pretty on her. When this does fade out, it will fade out to more of like an ash blonde, and before it gets to like a lighter golden blonde. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.